Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. So good to finally be making a video. I've been searching for the answer to my question that I had mentioned in my part 4 of the Is Common Law Marriage scriptural series. And I had mentioned that I thought I was going to find the answer in this book. I was kind of surprised that I didn't. Had to keep searching it out. But of course, the more we dig, Abba Father will surely grant our requests to the answers that we need to be pleasing to Him. So I'll read the verses really quick that my question was about so you can know the specifics of this video. It was out of Devarim, chapter 24, verses 1 through 4. When a man takes a wife and shall marry her, then it shall be, if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found a matter of shamefulness in her, and he shall write her a certificate of divorce, and put it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And if she left his house, and went and became another man's wife, then the latter husband shall hate her, and write her a certificate of divorce, and put it in her hand, and send her out of his house. Or when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled. For that would be an abomination before Yahweh. And when I read that last verse 4 in my part 4, I was like, whoa, an abomination, that's really severe. But the only comment I had just off the top of my mind was, ooh, this is some heavy stuff. That's what I had mentioned, and after, rewatching the video, I was like, I need to dig into this. This is severe. Because, I was thinking along the lines of Yeshua in, I'm going to read the verse later on, but when he was talking to the scribes and Pharisees, and they were questioning him about, when the woman has 7 husbands and then they all die, who's going to get her in the resurrection? When they were testing him, he mentions that you don't understand the scriptures, and he goes on to say, that once you've been united with someone, if you're no longer with them, you can't go be with someone else. And so, you can, as a woman, kind of feel a little enslaved in this kind of a situation. So I really wanted to dig in deep in case any of my subscribers are going through this, or if someone happens to search and finds this video, hallelujah. So before we go any further, let's get Abba Father's berachos on this study. Abba Father Yahweh, to the Abba so much for this Shabbat day of rest, this Kodesh set apart day that you've baruch us with, and you give us extra special secrets this day when we spend time digging into your word. May you put an extra thick layer of your Geder HaKodesh around this study, not just tonight, but all of the future times in which it's viewed. And help us to read your word with your way of thinking and not our own. And if somehow I've made an error in this presentation, please bring it to my attention or one of my viewers' attention. It's not about being right, but it's about pleasing you. And to the Yahushua so much for even making it possible to approach Abba in prayer and to be able to have forgiveness for all of our mistakes that we make, and for cleansing us in your word and teaching us your ways, the Torah, and for the chai that it gives us. Where would we be without you? And Ruach HaKodesh, for the comfort that you give us in all of the fiery trials that we go through, even though we fall in our pain sometimes. You always help us get back up when we reach up. May we never stay down from an attack. Thank you so much, Abba Father, for your love. May we be pleasing to you for all eternity. In Yahushua's beloved name, the name you gave him, the name above all names, we pray, Yahweh, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh Echad. Amen. Okay, Havarim. Before I jump into the study too, I wanted to mention there was something else I noticed in my part 4. Quick correction that I want to make. You know, obviously I've done a lot of learning and growing over this last year, and I had called myself a Yahwehite, a Gentile, and I must have missed this one back then in Galatians, the book of Galatians, chapter 3. It says 27, 28, and 29, I'm going to read. For as many of you as were immersed into Mashiach have put on Mashiach. There is not Yahudi nor Yahwanite. There is not slave nor free. There is not male and female. For you are all one in Mashiach Yahushua. And if you are of Mashiach, then you are seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. So, hallelujah, we're grafted in through our beloved Mashiach Yahusha. Okay, so I read you the verses that my question was out of. Told you my question. I looked up, I always go to Alan Horvath, of course, the beloved professor, and I'm going to recommend this video. Whoops, didn't mean to click it. Sorry, it's so sensitive, huh? It is called What Are Abominations? The one on the bottom. This graphic right here. What Are Abominations? Alan Horvath. It's about 27 minutes. And I really love how he mentions in that video that an abomination to Yahweh is basically something that turns his stomach. And I thought, ugh, you know, if we are to go back with our mate, if, you know, our mate has left us, and then we stay single, according to Yahusha's instruction, not to just go be with someone else, then ouch, you know? Unless we're Baruch with the gift that Shaul and, of course, Yahusha talk about, that is really a good idea to pray for, because we can do more for the kingdom. But, you know, that also might not necessarily be true either. I've really been listening to Adam Fink a lot on Parable of the Vineyard, and he had a wonderful, wonderful study last week, actually. I'm going to talk about it in the next video that I'm going to make soon, but if you don't want to wait, this Torah portion's on top, week 51. This one right here, the image with the baby. It's called Nitzavim, Deuteronomy 29:9 through 30:20, he mentions that there's a war going on the womb, and that Abba Father has a desired amount of children that he wants before the end can come. And yes, this can be physical births, babies, and also spiritual births of preaching. So my mindset, this whole time has, of course, been on preaching and, being able to grow in Elohim, to be able to hopefully win people over, with my example, if they don't want to listen, because, we don't want to talk to bricks and turn people off by preaching in the wrong timing, So, of course, I recommend that you watch his video too, and pray before you watch any of these videos. There's all of them, for Abba Father's personal answer to you, because it's going to be different for each and every one of us. We each are a different person. He takes each of us individually into account. And that's going to bring me to my next video that I want to recommend from Caregiver. I haven't recommended any of her videos yet, but she's such a sweetheart, and I really, really appreciated this one. The COT stands for Chew on This. The fellowship, Chew on This. This one right here with the crack in the pot. It says, healing. What is Abba teaching you? So, of course, he's got a personal message for each and every one of us. And, if we go Googling and, asking in chats, or, if you have a congregation that you can attend in person, or just people, fellow Kodashim, or, your maid or your parents or whoever, you're always going to wonder, well, was that answer from them or from Elohim? And Elohim will answer us if we ask in faith. So make sure you ask him personally. I was searching for this answer on, oh geez, if our mate has left us and, or they've passed away and, we're feeling lonely and we want a new mate, but then we don't want to disobey Yahusha or Shaul, and we're struggling with those feelings of loneliness, and we're thinking, what do we do? Or even if our mate hasn't passed away and Abba Father brings them back into our life, we don't want to disobey the Torah, where it says that it's an abomination to Yahweh if they take us back and we pollute the land. I mean, that's what we do affects the mishpacha, our family. So, we really need to be sure that we're pitching our tents with Elohim. So, this was incredible to me when I was, one of the books that I've read over this last year is the book of Yovelim. And this hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm going to read chapter 26, verses 1 to 18. And I'll interject or explain, whichever the Ruach leads. And in the 7th year of this week, Yitzhak called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, I am old, my son, and see, my eyes are dim in seeing, and I do not know the day of my death. And now take your hunting weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field, and hunt and catch for me, my son, and make me a tasty dish, such as my being loves. and bring it to me that I may eat, and that my being may barak you before I die. But Rivkah heard Yitzhak speaking to Esau, and Esau went out early to the field to hunt and catch and bring home to his father. And Rivkah called Yaakov, her son, and said to him, See, I heard Yitzhak, your father, speak to Esau, your brother, saying, Hunt for me, and make me a tasty dish, and bring to me that I may eat and barak you before Yahweh before I die. And now, my son, obey my voice in that which I command you. Go to your flock and fetch me 2 choice young goats, and I shall make them a tasty dish for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring to your father that he may eat and barak you before Yahweh before he dies, that you may be Baruch. And Yaakov said to Rivkah his mother, Mother, I shall not withhold any matter which my father would eat, and which would please him. Only I fear, my mother, that he shall recognize my voice and want to touch me. And you know that I am smooth, and Esau my brother is hairy. And I shall appear before his eyes as an evildoer, and shall do a deed which he has not commanded me. And he shall be wroth with me, and I shall bring upon myself a curse, and not be a berachah. And Rivkah his mother said to him, Your curse be upon me, my son, only obey my voice. And Yaakov obeyed the voice of Rivkah his mother, and went and fetched 2 choice and fat young goats, and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared them such as he loved. And Rivkah took the best garments of Esau, her elder son, which was with her in the house, and she clothed Yaakov her younger son, and she put the skins of the young goats upon his hands, and on the exposed parts of his neck. And she gave the meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaakov. And Yaakov went in to his father and said, I am your son. I have done accordingly as you asked me. Arise, and sit and eat of that which I have caught, father, that your being may barak me. And Yitzhak said to his son, How have you found so quickly, my son? And Yaakov said, Because your Elohim caused me to find. And Yitzhak said to his son, How have you found... Oh, I'm sorry. I looked away and retracted. And Yitzhak said to him, Come near, that I may feel you, my son, if you are my son Esau or not. And Yaakov went near to Yitzhak his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Yaakov's voice, but the hands are hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, because it was caused from the Shamayim to remove his power of perception. And Yitzhak did not recognize, for his hands were hairy as Esau's, so that he barak him. This raised up a lot of questions for me. Because of course, I'm sure almost all of us would think, wait a minute, he got the birthright through deceit, and we're not supposed to lie or be deceitful. Yet, Yahweh caused from the Shamayim to remove his power of perception. So I made a note in the back. The rule was that the firstborn gets the berachah, yet Yahweh knew Esau's heart, so moved on Rivkah to take the curse, so her son could receive the berachah, because it was Yahweh's will for Yaakov to receive the birthright and beracha. I mean, it was so interesting to me because, obviously Yaakov is the lineage of Yahusha, our Mashiach, and Esau is an Edomite, and I have a couple of verses, about the Edomites just to kind of, put in context if not really too familiar with the Edomites. Let's see. Out of Devarim, chapter 23, verses 5 through 7. But Yahweh your Elohim refused to listen to Biliam, and Yahweh your Elohim turned the curse into a beracha for you, because Yahweh your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace, nor their good, all your days forever. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe a Mitzrite, because you are a stranger in his land. So, it's not up to us to judge these situations. Elohim's ways are not our ways, and we can't really wrap our brains around his kodashah, his dedicatedness. That's something so much to look forward to when we get to be by the river of Chai, and these sorts of deep kind of questions get to be answered for us. It's interesting, though, that this verse mentions turning the curse into a beracha. Rivka did disobey, yet it was still a beracha because it was Yahweh's will. So even though the Torah gives us black and white, you do this and you don't do that, like Yahusha taught us that, it's not always exactly by the book, meaning, like, let me give an example. Let's see, where is it? I have it bookmarked in here. When he was talking to the scribes and Pharisees in Lucas, that's the book of Luke, chapter 13. I'm sorry, 14. I'm going to read 1 through 5. Actually, through 6. And it came to be, as he went into the house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees to eat bread on the Shabbat, that they were watching him closely. And see, there was a certain man before him suffering from dropsy. And Yahusha responding spoke to those learned in the Torah and the Pharisees, saying, Is it right to heal on the Shabbat? But they were silent. So taking hold of him, he healed him and let him go. And to them he said, Which of you having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit shall not immediately pull him up out on the Shabbat day? So a lot of these traditions that have been, man-made and imposed on us in the name of the Torah, by rabbis or, like the Talmud, which is, the rabbinic doctrine, Yahusha was warning us not to go by those. Don't go by that Torah. He said, all the Torah hangs on love Abba Father and love your neighbor as yourself. There's another one that's really important to bring up that Shaul mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I'm going to read to verse 4. If I speak with the tongues of men and of messengers, malachim, but do not have love, I have become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And if I have nevuah, and I know all secrets and all knowledge, and if I have all belief so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am not. And if I give out all my possessions to feed the poor, and if I give my body to be burned, but do not have love, it does not profit me at all. Love is patient, is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not boast. It is not puffed up, does not behave indecently, does not seek its own, is not provoked, reckons not the evil. And here the scribes and Pharisees are reckoning the evil. They're bringing attention to, you have to do this, you can't do that, just like they were trying to preach the message of salvation through circumcision. Yes, that's a step to do once you're in the process of learning Torah, but just having a piece cut off of your flesh isn't what's going to save you. It's the pitching of tents with Elohim that saves us, and yet we show our love through obedience, so it goes hand in hand. And let's see, don't want to get too far off track here, but to bring it back to this thing with the Edomites, we can't judge them. It's up to Yahweh to do the judging. Yehezkel was the next verse I wanted to read. Chapter 25, verses 12 through 14. Also on Moab, I execute judgments. I'm sorry, this is verse 11. Verse 12. Thus said the Adon Yahweh, because of what Edom has done against the house of Yehudah by taking vengeance, so that they became very guilty, and they have taken vengeance on them. Therefore, thus says the Adon Yahweh, I shall stretch out my hand against Edom, and I shall cut off man and beast from it, and lay it waste, from Timan even to Denan. They shall fall by the sword. And I shall lay my vengeance on Edom by the hand of my people Yisrael, and they shall do in Edom according to my displeasure, and according to my wrath. So they shall know my vengeance, declares the Adon Yahweh. So I also especially wanted to read those verses to highlight the point of that before we make a big decision, such as moving forward with a new mate, bringing it back to Devarim 24, 1 through 4, or if our mate has left us and comes back, we really need to search out Abba Father's guidance before proceeding on any of these matters. And I really want to mention too, there is a, shoot, where is my paper? It's called the HebrewGospels.com. If you look that up, you can see how this verse, let me just go ahead and get to it, because I keep bringing it up. Yeshayahu chapter 12. Oh, this was also one with the black and white rules. I think it was chapter 19 where he talks about, yeah. I'm going to read chapter 12 first and then go to 19. At the time, Yahusha went through the grain fields on the Shabbat, and his Talmudim were hungry, and began to pluck heads of grain to eat. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, "Look, your Talmudim are doing what is not right to do on the Shabbat." But he said to them, "Have you not read what David did when he was hungry? And he and those who were with him, how he went into the house of Edom and ate the showbread, which was not right for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but only for the Kohanim? Or did you not read in the Torah that on the Shabbat the Kohanim in the Mikdash profane the Shabbat and are blameless? But I say to you that in this place there is one greater than the Mikdash. And if you had known what this means, I desire compassion and not offering, you would not have condemned the blameless." Compassion. That's what another video that I'm going to recommend. At the end of this, Adam talks about this, and it's really cool because, he brings up these specific verses that I did like a study on for the last year. And he summed it all up really good in about 5 minutes, and brought up, that Abba Father had compassion on Yisrael. Yahweh divorced his wife, Yisrael. But yet in Jeremiah, he says, "Please, return to me, and I will take you back. Just stop your whoring." And here it is in Devarim when he says, that you can't take her back if she's been with another man. But yet Yahweh had compassion on Israel. Can a man or a woman have compassion on their mate if they've fallen prey to the deceptions of the flesh and of demons and have committed whoring on their mate? That's definitely a matter of prayer between yourself and Abba Father if it's a situation that you're in. And, of course I would never want to tell anybody what to do, but I like to, of course, share my conclusions from my prayer. And through all of this, I have come to the conclusion that, like Yahusha says right here, I desire compassion and not offering. So in a way, we can do both. We can offer the pain to him and have compassion on our mate if they return to us. And this would be pleasing to him, as long as we can continue to pitch tents with Elohim with this mate. And in case your mate doesn't return and they've passed away or have died a spiritual death and are gone, and you don't feel the Ruach inspiring you to be an aguna and just wait for their return, maybe, maybe not. Let's take a look at what beloved Yahusha says here to the scribes and Pharisees. And I say to you, whoever puts away his wife, except on the grounds of whoring, and marries another, commits adultery. And whoever marries her who has been put away commits adultery. That part, that second verse, this is Yeshayahu chapter 19, verse 9. I'm going to look this up just real quick because I want to make sure to give you the right address. I thought I had it written down. Yep, the Hebrew Gospels. TheHebrewGospels.com. You'll be able to find it. It's just not there. So, I mean, all these interpretations, just like Yahuwah said in the book of Chazon, Revelation, those who add to or take away from my word will receive the plagues. So that's an addition, a man-made addition right there. So the next video actually that I want to recommend also before I move on to my next part, another Alan Horvath, Walking in the Word, number 62, August 11th, 2018. This graphic right here of him, his shadow. A gentleman asks the question at the 54-minute mark you want to skip to if you're in a hurry. He says, what should you do when you have parents that don't understand Shabbat and try to get you to do the worldly things on the Kodesh day? So I really felt like this applies to all this study because, if you are in that kind of a situation where your mate left or you had to leave your mate because you were unable to pitch tents with Elohim with this person in your life, if they come back and you've made the decision with Abba Father to take them back, you need to be prepared for situations like this. So this is an excellent suggestion on how to handle that. And my next part that I want to jump into, this was a good verse that a fellow believer had commented on one of my videos. I think it might have been the first one on the playlist of his common law marriage scriptural. And they had me read Romaim chapter 13, verse 13, which says, let us walk becomingly, as in the day, not in wild parties and drunkenness, not in living together and indecencies, not in fighting and envy. And they had mentioned the Greek word for this living together. In other versions, it calls it chambering. And, I looked it up too in the Strong's Concordance and read the definition. And I always prefer to go to the Hebrew because Yeshua is an Ivri, a Hebrew, a Jew. And he spoke Aramaic. And with the different cultures, different meanings can be attached to the words. And we know the Greeks were pretty sexual people, I mean, they always had statues of naked people and were very promiscuous in their worship. So I looked up this word in the Aramaic, living together. It's H2315. Chider. So, Chet, Dalit, Resh. And what I saw was to enclose, surround as a headship that is not committed, but is back and forth. Put this a little closer. Hopefully you have your own audio cards already by now. But, if you want to pause the video and, kind of take some time to see what the Ruach shows you with this word, please feel free. Het is surrounding, enclosing, and remember we go to the outside with the headship that is not committed, is going back and forth. If they were committed, it would probably have, a mark or the wall of the tent peg, joining together and be a different audio combination. So I just wanted to throw that out there that, if anybody has any verses that move me to change my view on this, of course I will, because like I mentioned in my prayer, it's not about being right, it's about pleasing Elohim and really walking with him. And, like even in the Sefer version, it translates, it doesn't use the words husband and wife, it uses the words man and woman. Like, I got into really deep depth in my part 1. And somebody else on the live stream, because I love doing the Parable of the Vineyard live streams on Friday nights for Shabbat. And somebody had asked a good question that I really wanted to double check and make sure I wasn't in error. And so their question was, when I brought up Dinah and Shechem, that verse, and it's chapter 34, verse 52, when it uses the word and committed adultery with her, and I said, well, neither one of them were married, and it uses the word adultery. So obviously adultery, fornication, whoring, it's all the same thing. So I'd like to read out of Yeshayahu, chapter 33, verses 17 to 24, just to show that they were not. Neither one of them was already married. And Hamor, the son of Chedekim, the Hivite, came to the house of Shechem, his son, and he sat before him. And Hamor said to his son, Shechem, is there then no woman among the daughters of your people that you will take? An Ibri woman who is not your people? And Shechem said to him, you must get only her for me, for she is delightful in my sight. And Hamor did according to the word of his son, for he was greatly loved by him. And Hamor went to Yaakov to speak with him concerning this matter. And when he had gone from the house of his son Shechem, before he came to Yaakov to speak to him, see, the sons of Yaakov had come from the field as soon as they heard the matter that Shechem, son of Hamor, had done. And the men were very much grieved concerning their sister, and they all came home kindled with wrath. before the time of gathering in their cattle. And they came and sat before their father, and they spoke to him, kindled with wrath, saying, Indeed, death is due to this man and to his household, because Yahweh Elohim of the whole earth commanded Noah and his children that man shall never rob nor commit adultery. Now see, Shechem has both ravaged and committed whoring with our sister. See, interchangeable. And not one of all the people the city spoke a word to him. Indeed, you know and understand that the judgment of death is due to Shechem and to his father, and to the whole city because of the matter which he has done. And while they were speaking before their father in this matter, see, Hamor, the father of Shechem, came to speak to Yaakov the words of his son concerning Dinah. And he sat before Yaakov and before his sons. And Hamor spoke to them, saying, The being of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. I pray you give her to him for a wife, and intermarry with us. Give us your daughters, and we will give you our daughters, and you shall dwell with us in our land, and we will be as one people in the land. So they weren't married. Okay, the last video I want to recommend this Torah portions from Parable of the Vineyard, week 49, Ki Tetzi, Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 25:19. The very top graphic with the hands right here. Hope you can see that okay. But even if you can't see the picture good, if you Google it, I'm sure it will come up. So if you do the 1 hour and 7 minute mark, that's where that 5 minutes is that I was talking about, that he leaves you off with the suggestion to pray and fast. So also if you go back 10 minutes before the 1 hour and 7 minute mark, at the beginning of the chapter 23, he talks about not being able to enter into the assembly of Yahweh for a physical state of being. And when I was listening to that, I thought, wow, how much more, because of our actions, would we not be able to enter into the assembly? And not just now, but when Yahusha returns. So I'm going to make another video, Abba willing, tomorrow. I have some more research that I want to do, but it's kind of going to be a follow-up to my part 2, because I had a dream that was really, really, like, I know it was Abba Father showing me something specific about part 2 that I had made, and even some health issues that I was going through. And then, you know, it was just like, wow, like right after all that had happened, I actually wanted to read a couple more verses really quick. Let's see. First Kepha, chapter 4. Verse 12. Beloved ones, do not be surprised at the fiery trial that is coming upon you to try you, as though some unusual matter has befallen you. And as the second witness, the book of Sirach, out of Matmonim, that means hidden treasures. commonly called Ecclesiasticus. I love how the POTV channel calls it Mishli Proverbs, you know, squared. It's really high powered. So, this is chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if you come to serve Yahweh, prepare your being for trial. So, it's definitely not a cakewalk, but as long as we cling to Abba Father, He will get us through. I'm a living testimony of that. And yes, I took a break from, making the videos because I was going through some really heavy, fiery trials. And, I slipped. And I'll get into some of that in the part 2 that I'm going to make for this. But like I said, I have some further research that I want to do before I start expounding on points. But I wanted to leave you off with an idea of what my next video is going to be about. So I hope and I pray that this was a beracha and an encouragement to all of you. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comments, and I will get back as soon as possible. And may Abba Father Baruch you and your studies and your walk with Him every moment of your day till our beloved Mashiach, Yahusha, returns. Shalom. Mishpacha.